Hello, hello, hello. I think it's working now this time around, hopefully. Do let me know. Pretty annoying. YouTube just kind of died on me. So I'll have to go through the list and fix this basically. But yeah, I think it should be working now. I'll fix the previous video in a sec. It's a YouTube issue. Never had that before actually, which is surprising given, I mean, YouTube usually does this kind of stuff. Let me know if everything is working. I hope it is. And yeah. How do I delete this? Whatever, I'll do it after the stream. The extra video that we've done that ran for 1 minute, why I could do nothing about it. Audio though, I think that's pretty much max that it goes, so can't really do anything about that. I hope it's not too low. Usually people are always saying audio too low, and then I listen back and it's super, super loud, and I don't know why, but yeah. Nice to see you guys. It's been a while. Didn't have Monday, the weekly open thingy, because Ledger didn't have internet, and yeah, feels like it's been a while. But then again, the market hasn't moved, so we haven't really missed anything, so we're all good. Before I start the show, big shout out to FTX, which is the sponsor of our show. They have the best mobile app in the game, in my opinion. You should go check them out. The links to that are in the description. And yeah, pretty good stuff from them all around. So yeah. Audio is too nice. Do you want me to make it worse? I can make it worse. So yeah, we'll talk about the market for a second, and then I can go and answer some questions. High time frame wise, nothing's changed on the monthly, right? It's just been like a nothing burger month, which is unsurprising, right? The one thing that I've been saying on the high time frames, right, is that I think we should be rounding out on the support. We've been doing so for the last 4 weeks now. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, which makes all the low time frame stuff pretty difficult, because you can close below levels, you can close above levels, and it doesn't really change anything. And that's the problem with like confirmation trading, right? Because if you've been buying the weekly support down here, you've been doing kind of okay, right? I mean, prices have dipped into it and have bounced every single time so far. But if you've been trying to kind of confirmation trade this on the lower time frames, you've been completely getting wrecked. And yeah, that's the reason why I just bought instead of waiting for confirmation in this case. And that's basically it, because I don't want to be waiting for low time frame confirmation and then buy and then get invalidated and then buy again and then get invalidated again. Like that kind of stuff isn't really to my liking. But that tends to happen when you have like these high time frame consolidations, which yeah, makes low time frame trading difficult. But so far on the weekly time frame, we've been rounding out, like I've been saying, on weekly support. And something that's pretty nice, in my opinion, is that we've shaken the crypto specific weakness, right? So Bitcoin and crypto in general is still going down when the S&P is going down, but it's going down equal amounts, right? It's proportional now. If you remember back like a couple of weeks ago, we had much bigger moves and much worse moves in crypto. So whenever the S&P moved down, or like the NASDAQ or whatever you want to use for like correlation, we had bigger moves to the downside. And whenever the S&P bounced, we had smaller moves to the upside. So like we had crypto specific weakness. And that blue, that sucks balls when you're trading this thing, because yeah, you're just kind of stuck there trading something bearish. Can't really do anything about it. That has changed in my opinion. So right now we only have the S&P is down, Bitcoin's gonna go down, the S&P is up, Bitcoin's gonna go up kind of portion of that, which makes it much, much better for like the bullish side of things, right? Because you don't have to be afraid that you're gonna be right on the S&P, but Bitcoin's just not gonna go play ball. And now it's like, okay, if you're right on the S&P, you're probably gonna be right on crypto. Adding on top of that, like I said, weekly support. So that's pretty nice. My view has not changed a single bit. It's all basically, okay, we're at weekly support. We're at the previous cycle high, which was 20K. This is a place where you have to be bullish. If that fails, you can be bullish much, much lower. But in my opinion, it's just like the most obvious spot on the entire chart to be bullish. And sometimes you just have to ignore everything else, right? When you have a really, really good level or like a really good reason to be bullish, I mean, you just gotta be. And for like, I mean, you can look at altcoins as well, just to kind of show the point that I'm making. For example, right? And I mean, I know this is like way out there, but this is like, this is the Voyager token from like a Voyager, which basically went insolvent, right? And when you get a setup, no matter how shitty kind of the macro situation is, sometimes you just have to take it, right? I didn't take this, but you can kind of see like this stuff doesn't really have to make macro sense every single time. Voyager pumped from 0.14 all the way up to 1 in the last 2 days. And, or was it 2? Yeah, 2 days. Even though this shit basically went belly up, right? So like if you try to make too much sense of this market in general, you're not going to have a good time. And so yeah, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet, take some risk. That's what I've been doing. Obviously it's still like Bitcoin. My Bitcoin position is around 20K. That's pretty much exactly where we're at right now. So it's just been doing like, it's been up, down, up, down, up, down. I've been in a little bit of profit and then it goes a little bit below my entry and it goes a little bit above it again. So like this, nothing's changed here for me. I've seen a lot of people kind of jump from position to position, from bearish to bullish on the macro, even though nothing's changed. And I mean, that's fine by me. For me, that doesn't really make much sense though. Like, why would you? The thing with like the lower time frames is, and this is something that I've mentioned the last few weeks, and I've actually tweeted about as well, is that you're gonna get beautiful kind of breakout signals. Like this one was pretty nice, right? So you had like the most obvious resistance in here that we kind of reclaimed. That's bullish, right? So you kind of have to be bullish in the low time frames, and then it just broke it down, and then like this kind of stuff, like trading this kind of stuff, is just gonna make you lose your mind, because it's gonna fake you out 2 or 3 times before it's actually gonna do what you want it to. And yeah, it's just pretty rough. If I had to make TA on the low time frames, you're like, okay, this is like daily resistance now, obviously. Problem is we're at weekly support, so you don't want to be bearish there, and then it's just like it's a clusterfuck, right? So if you really want to be waiting, I guess, for confirmation, if you don't want to be buying like at support, but rather for confirmation, the safest bet, I guess, is at this point 22K plus, which could just be, if this rallies at any point, which could just be one candle to the upside, and then you don't get it, right? So that's the kind of confirmation trade stuff that I just dread. I fucking hate trading like that, especially at these kind of levels. So I don't. But for everyone that is trading it, kind of sucks. Sorry for the choppiness, just part of the game. Finally caught one live again. Yeah, actually I started it early because I want to eat something. I've been out training today and didn't get to eat, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna start early so I can get some food, because I need to get to bed early, because I'm driving to France tomorrow. So yeah, that's why I'm like 15 minutes early or something, whatever it is. Yeah, excuse me for that. It just is what it is. Like I said, nothing's really changed anyway, so it's not like too exciting. But I think it's going to get exciting pretty soon. And with pretty soon, I mean in the next like 4 weeks or so. Feels kind of like we're gonna close this monthly. Pretty much relatively, I could see it close like this, and then it's probably, I think, gonna be a green candle to the upside, and then we're gonna see next month. Obviously, could also be a red candle to the downside. It's just like if you made me guess, I'd say it's a green candle to the upside. That's gonna take out the previous high, which is 22K, and then you can still make your judgment whether it's gonna go like in general up or down. But that's kind of like how it's setting up to me. Whenever these candles get like really small on the monthly after big impulses to the downside, they usually resolve to the upside, right? So you have like a big candle to the downside. When the candle gets really and this is after like an extended bear market, obviously not at the top, right? So this, you could say, okay, hey, there's like a small candle to the, like that really didn't do anything, but this is like at a pullback, right? So I'm talking about bear market kind of candles. Whenever you have these kind of like big washouts and start kind of going sideways, that's usually like a pretty nice area to kind of just buy. And I mean, you even had it in here-ish. Like you had a couple of months of bear. You start getting like, after like a bigger candle, you get like a smaller one. It's just kind of like people get bearish and then it goes up. Obviously the move down here, black swan with COVID. So it's really tough to kind of add this one to the list. But yeah, generally speaking, that's just kind of how it looks like to me. But I wouldn't want to bet just based on that, my house on it. I'm just saying, like in general, like the best kind of evidence for me that this is going to resolve to the upside is just that we're like at the most obvious level on the weekly. The weekly is kind of the main driver of my thesis. But yeah, hope I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm going to lose a bunch of money. So if you don't want to lose a bunch of money in general, probably don't counter trade. I mean, that was a Freud, or what's it called in English? Freud mistake? I don't know. There's a German word that I know. But yeah, whatever. So yeah, if you don't want to lose money, you should probably just not trade the way I trade, because you should just generally not trade, because when you're trading, you're gonna lose money at some point and then make some money at another point. It's just how the game is played, right? Freudian slip. Yeah, thank you. I knew it. There was a word for it. So Don, I took that trade through the cluster on the 20.7K retest. Obviously feeling invalidated after yesterday's close, but it feels bad closing at weekly support. Yeah, that's kind of like the shitty situation. Like let's say you bought this kind of like retest here, this support, right? Because you're like, okay, this is bullish. If that was your trade thesis, you kind of have to close into it again. Like if you get like an exit there, you would have to. That's why I'm saying like low time frame wise, this is really tough. There's gonna be a lot of chop and there's gonna be a lot of stops if you're trading the daily time frame here, which is fine, right? Like because you only need to catch it once. Like if you lose like 5% here and there, like as bad as that sounds, like if you lose 5% 3 times, that's gonna be like a big loss. But what you're trying to get is like the asymmetric kind of play, which is just gonna take this towards like 27, 28 peak, because there's nothing in here, right? This entire area is pretty empty. So if you're trying to kind of catch something on the daily, you'd have to target 28K. So getting stopped out for a few percent here and there isn't the worst. For me, I still don't want to deal with it. I'm just buying this weekly support. And I'm saying it's going to go 28 to 28K. And my invalidation is going to be below weekly support. So if the weekly closes shit, I'm going to be like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Until then, like I don't really see a point to kind of just change my position, because yeah, like I said, as long as the weekly is holding, there's nothing really invalidated besides like low time frame momentum. And low time frame momentum has been very, very shit. So yeah, it's pretty tough. Don is still bullish. We deserve more dump. I mean, the thing is, nothing's changed, right? Like, how should I, like, this is the reason, like, legitimately, this is the reason why I'm bullish, right? And people don't get, like, how my trading works, which is really confusing because it's really simple, right? But I have, like, a support level on the weekly that I think is going to hold. I'm going to buy that shit, and I'm going to be bullish until it's either very, very obvious that it's going to break, and I don't think it is. It's pretty obvious that people are actually bidding this level pretty aggressively even. So either when it's very obvious that it's going to break or when it's broken, right? So people are like, how don't, like, this has been like here for like 4 weeks. How are you still bullish? And my answer is like, dude, like, this is a weekly support. This is like if you had a 4 hour, like if you went on the 4 hour and you're like, okay, I have resistance here, right? Or like support or whatever. I have resistance here. And then you spend 4 candles at that resistance, right? And you're like, okay, I'm gonna, like, this is not gonna be resistance anymore. And this has been spent much, much more than 4 candles at that resistance, right? So it's like the same thing is true for the higher time frames that is true for the lower time frames. Like, you wouldn't, if you bought, and this is just gonna probably be like a try free kind of thing, not gonna lie, but like, let's say you bought here on the low time frame, right? Because you're like, okay, this is the pretty obvious place to buy here, right? I think it's gonna round out on top of support and it's gonna go up. Like, how many candles are there at that support making it round out before it went up? There's a shitload, right? So if I changed my mind just based on the fact that we haven't moved immediately from the support, I mean, I'd just be a shit trader. But since it's a weekly time frame, people are just like, it should have moved by now, so I'm gonna switch my bias and then switch it again and switch it again. Makes no sense. There's good support. You buy it until it's invalidated, and yeah. This dump and pump is because of moon cycle also. Yeah, whatever. I'm not a moon kind of guy. What about CPI? It's pretty bad for the S&P medium term. That I agree with. Then again, a lot has already happened on the S&P and the Nasdaq. So yeah, I'm just gonna trust DTA, as stupid as that sounds, on something like the S&P. But for me, the S&P is at support. All the other shit is just like people talking about stuff they don't really understand. And I mean, markets don't really work rational right now anyway. If you haven't noticed, people are holding, like, the only thing that's really rewarding you to hold is like the dollar, which, I mean, you could argue makes no sense, but it's just like markets are just not necessarily like rational. So I'm just fine with like just trusting the old TA shit. And yeah, bounce from monthly support, right? That's what's been happening on the S&P, and ran into weekly resistance, but that resistance is like tested so many times that I'd actually expect it to break. So for me, like, I'm just I'm not too worried about the traditional markets right now. Could be wrong on that front, but yeah, I don't really like the macro LARPing, kind of pretending like I can predict how prices are gonna go based on data that barely anyone really understands. Yeah, not really my thing. This has actually been working really well for me. Like this TA shit on on the S&P. It's kind of ridiculous, but I think ever since retail's moved in so heavily into trading these markets, it's been actually really accurate, right? So you had the breakdown here, you retest it again, you fall back down towards support, you bounce from support, rally into resistance, fail that support, go to support again, to the next lower one, bounce. Where do you bounce to? All the way to resistance. You go low, and then people were like, okay, where did this bounce come from? and it came from the monthly support, right? So bounced from the monthly support, ran into resistance, and that's that. So yeah, I don't know. Is like the stuff that's going on the macro really shitty? 100%. Am I just blindly gonna ignore everything that I've kind of learned and have been successful doing in crypto because of it? No. Like, I know that these levels, like buying this, has done wonders for me like every single time I've traded like that. And I'm just not gonna throw that out the window. Doesn't really make much sense to me. Like, it's the best support we have. It's the best kind of narrative level-ish, that like it's the level that makes the most sense, even if you're not a TA person. So I'm just gonna buy it. Don't have to really overcomplicate it, right? And I feel like a lot of people are and have been overcomplicating it. It's the same thing with the highs, right? There were so many people saying, yeah, inflation is going up, so you have to kind of be exposed to Bitcoin because that's like the inflation hedge. And then we fell back into the range and people were like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. We're going to come back out of it again. Like I said, inflation hedge, blah, blah, blah. And then it just went to fucking zero after. So kind of this price, like the price that we have and the price movements that we get is what's making the narrative, not the other way around. So the narrative right now is failed inflation hedge. The narrative is the S&P is just going to dictate where this is going to go. Everything is kind of reliant on the macro picture. And the moment this goes up, the narrative is going to change again. And you're going to be like, what the fuck, where did this come from? Like, why is the narrative suddenly like, okay, this is an inflation hedge again, or whatever, right? So the price makes the narrative as much as the other way around. And I'm not willing to just kind of miss out on that and then feel stupid for not having bought the most obvious kind of signal that I could ever get. That doesn't really mean that it's guaranteed to go up though. Obviously, nothing's ever guaranteed in trading. I thought you want to sell it if Bitcoin dips below 20K. If Bitcoin closes below 20K. But in general, like I feel like just looking at price action right now, I'm not too worried. I'm more than happy to hold it. And in general, like this is all spot for me, right? It's not like this is a leverage position that I have to close. If I think it's ridiculous, and I think these prices are ridiculous already, I can just hold them, right? It's not like I have to sell them again. There's no liquidation price for me. There's nothing of the sort. I think 20K is a ridiculous price. It's even more so at 14 or 12K, but I think 20K is already like very, very ridiculous. So I'm more than willing to hold it at that price level. And if it breaks down and I feel like it's a stupid breakdown, I'm just going to hold and turn it into like my long-term bag, which I haven't had in a long time, right? So like I sold my crypto long-term bags because I was like, okay, this is just unfounded hype. But I think like if it goes down too much and it's unfounded kind of fear in the market, I'm willing to reestablish again, even though in general, like I'm not really the investment type of guy, at least not in crypto. But at some point it gets ridiculous. I think it is already ridiculous, and I'm more than willing to take like a larger bet with a little bit more risk on the line. I don't really understand how that's like super, super controversial, because people just feel like, yeah, risking some money is like the worst thing in the world, which I mean, I guess like people hate losing money, and I mean I do as well, but if to make money you kind of have to risk money every single time, right? So it seems pretty obvious to me to just kind of like stick your neck out every once in a while when you think it's getting stupid. Who speaks better French, Dawn, you or your date? I mean, how is that even a question? She's from France. I don't speak a single word of French. So yeah. Thoughts on Solana on these prices? I like Solana still. Very few people know that Suzu and Kyle Davies first started their business by selling air conditioning units in Singapore. That's how they got the name Free AC. Wow, that's a bad one, my friend. whatever. I feel like years from now, in the next cycle, credit will bring up these historic bond trades at 30K and 20K. Possibly. Who knows? Who knows where this is gonna go? Like, I don't have like a crystal ball. I can't guarantee you that it's gonna go up just because it's at support, or like just as well as people that tell you that it's gonna go down 100%. That's just like frauds. That's why I never say, okay, this is guaranteed to go up. I always say, like, I think there's a chance it goes up because it just makes sense from here, but I never say it's guaranteed. And everyone that says it's guaranteed to go one way or the other is a fraud. But yeah, I like doing business at these kind of levels. Teach earning next week, if bad, will probably affect S&P and transpose onto Bitcoin. So do you have your spot with stop losses? Like I said, I can hold it. And I think people are just kind of making wild guesses to kind of justify their bullishness or bearishness. And to kind of avoid that, because it's really easy to fall into that, I just do what I've always done, right? So, I mean, I've bought this because I thought like 4K Bitcoin was ridiculous. And I started buying way more when I saw strength, and when I was like, okay, this is just completely stupid, and it went up, right? And that wasn't because of the S&P, that wasn't because of anything. It was just me saying, okay, these price levels are ridiculous. People are kind of losing sight of what they're in the market for. I also bought this because I was like, the prices that we have is ridiculous. Obviously, I sold too early, but still got pretty nice bottom tick on that one. And I got into crypto back when it was quite low, based on the same kind of feeling, right? I was like, okay, at these price levels, and I mean, I did buy Doge in these kind of in this area, not necessarily like I bought Bitcoin and then transferred it into Doge, which was a pretty nice trade, because I thought like, okay, it's low enough to make sense, and well, I'm thinking the same now again. And it's like back then, my decision making wasn't based on the like all this other macro shit that people keep talking about. It was just about me analyzing how far it's down and whether I mean, if you're in this market, you kind of have a belief that it's gonna go up, right? In general, like you wouldn't be in the market otherwise, or you'd be an idiot, right? Because you don't really want to be in a market that you don't think will go up. There's much more money to be made on the bullish side of things than on the bearish side. So if you're generally bearish on it, might as well just look for another market that you're bullish on and trade that one instead. But yeah, so like this kind of trading style has worked for me, right? In the past, I've traded successfully around for the last few years, based on, okay, if it dumps too much, if it gets stupid, and if it's at good support levels, I'm going to be buying it. And if it gets stupid to the upside and starts invalidating, like it did up here, then I'm going to start selling. And so that's why I'm doing the same thing here. And I feel like anything beyond that point would just cloud my judgment. So I'm more than happy to be the idiot that ignores, or like at least doesn't fully abandon trading plans that I've made ages ago, because I've been like looking at 20 and 14K since we've traded above 60K, just because something's changed and people are too afraid to buy into that. So yeah, that's that. I don't think it's too complicated. We had support, I buy. We had resistance, I sell. We're below support, even though I bought. I mean, oh well, I'm gonna probably have to close it. That's all that is. And it's at just kind of like the simplest level. It's okay, I sold below 60K because I saw 60K breakdown, and I rebought 20K. So I didn't rebuy 3 times as much. I could have, but I didn't. That I like had back at 60K, but that seems like a reasonable thing to do. I dodged this entire move. I traded in between, but didn't take any losses. besides on Litecoin, which sucked, but wasn't too big of a loss. So like that seems reasonable to me. And if I'm gonna be wrong and I dodge this, I don't mind taking this. This loss doesn't seem too bad to me, because I think anything at or near 20k towards 14k is beyond ridiculous prices. You're gonna be dreaming about those in the years to come. So am I gonna sell into weekly support? Fuck no. I don't really see the point. There you go. Damn, I just joined. What's up, Doug? Did you already do the dating pit? No. That is, I mean, I'm gonna refrain from the dating pit because, yeah, I am pretty serious about it, which I don't want to ruin by someone doing stupid shit, right? And you never know. There's gonna be if like this video is watched by 10,000 people, there's gonna be 9,990 people that are really cool, and then there's gonna be 10 people that can ruin it for everyone, especially ruin it for me. So yeah, you're gonna have to do without that. Sorry about it. Don, do you trade options? I've dabbled in options, but it's not really my expertise. And it's not because I'm bad at it, it's because I've not been spending the time that I should have on it. It's fun. I like it. It was actually something that I wanted to do more of for a while now, but just haven't gotten around to it. Oh man, Don's going to be too busy with his girlfriend to do streams soon. I mean, the thing is, I'm actually probably going to take next month off entirely. So you're not too wrong on that. So yeah, it's gonna be a few streams, and then it's most likely gonna be the entirety of next month, me off of Twitter and off of YouTube, and no newsletter as well. Because I wanna just, and this is the thing, right? You look at this chart and there's, I think, not a week that I haven't looked at price ever since we've been trading Bitcoin at like $500. Like back when I bought, like way back, I didn't look too much at it, but I think like ever since like roughly 500 to like 600, there's been no week where I haven't looked at prices. And I'm down to just kind of do a month full of just not looking at prices, not following anything, not being on Twitter, all of that kind of stuff would be nice after, I think it's been like 6 years now of obsessing over the market. I'm just going to stay in position because I think it's a good price level. I actually don't really mind being away from the computer at these prices, because worst comes to worst, I get back and I just buy a shitload more at 12 to 14k, which I don't think is going to happen. I expect if I'm gonna come back a month later that we're gonna be trading around 30k ish. But yeah, I'll let you guys know. It's not really like wrapped, and like just in general. It's not a certainty that that's gonna happen, but I really want it to happen because, yeah, it'd be nice to kind of unwind and just stop thinking about the market for once. But yeah, it's not necessarily gonna be with her anyway. I could see myself go surfing for an entire month and just go somewhere where there's no internet and enjoy life. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. I think it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. You're going to look at the low time frames, you're going to be like, what the fuck is this shit? For good reason. This is choppy as hell. We are on the daily, we're at resistance, right? So if you're like a bear, you could do the same thing that we had. Like a bearish setup would be like shorting somewhere in here with a stop loss up here, and then aim for the breakdown. I think it's a stupid setup, but that's kind of like the lower time frame momentum setup, and those have been terrible, right? I've seen two of them that would have usually always played out, and they've also, like, they both just failed. So Can't recommend this, but it's a setup. For me, I just ignore the low time frames. Important, like the only important thing is, right, that we are holding this higher low thing, and so far that's been the case. You can kind of draw a trend line if you want to. This one, that's an interesting one to follow. Beyond that, I don't think it's too important what kind of levels we have and all that kind of stuff. We're at weekly support. That's gonna do something for a while, right? So even if it's bearish and we do something like this, it's gonna be like, I could see this be like 1 or 2 weeks. Like if it started doing this, that'd be bad news, right? Like if you have a low that gets tested once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, then you could be like, okay, this is gonna go. It's pretty similar to what we had back in the day, where you have a low and then you test it and you test it and you test it and you break down. So if you're bearish, this is the thing that you want to be looking out for. And if you're bullish, it's obviously the same thing, because then you can get out of the way, because at this kind of test, it probably nuke, and then you can reestablish at like 17, 16, 15, 14, 13K, wherever you think the bid's going to step in. So if it's doing something like that, that'd be bad news. But as long as it's holding this kind of trend line and walking up, I think it's like not the worst in the world on the lower time frames. But yeah, it's just my opinion. I think this is still like, this is the only chart that you need to watch. And if something changes on this, it's going to be big news. Oops. Didn't you say that you were all vacationed out just a few weeks ago? Yeah, but I mean, that was a few weeks ago. No, it's not necessarily even about the vacations, it's about me getting away from the market, because even on vacation I check the markets, and I wanna just have that for at least a month, kind of see how excited I am to get back when I have had like a little bit of a break, because this is my job, it's my hobby, and I do like content as well, right? So it's like there's no way for me to get away from it, and I haven't been away from it for 6 years, and I'm just interested how things would change if I'm just gone for like a little bit. Do you think that the 140K Mt. Gox Bitcoin release next month will affect us? Very possible. I think it'd be a short-term thing, right? So if it really does get released, I think it'd be a dump. And if it gets bought up, it'd be a giga pump afterwards. If not, I could see it be like bearish for like 3, 4, 5 days, and then it's not gonna matter again. I think that's kind of like my gut feeling on the matter. Yeah, so that's kind of what you look out for. If you get these kind of news and it nukes and then reclaims it and actually builds a base, or like in general comes back above the nuke level, there's a good chance that, especially with those kind of news, that it just sends. And if it's bearish, I mean, you get the news in general, there's a good chance that you're gonna have like a 5% dip or something, and then you can still decide on whether, like, if you're the first one to see it, you can react to it. It's gonna nuke for a little bit, 2, 3, 4, 5%, and then you can just get back into position at that price level, or wait it out and rebuy a little bit higher than you sold, because there's probably going to be a pump afterwards. Whatever you prefer. I don't think it's too big of a deal. So yeah, that's that. With regards to ETH, we're still at monthly support. There's nothing changed there. Pretty much the same story as Bitcoin. This looks like it probably needs to round out a little bit longer. But then again, if Bitcoin doesn't round out longer, ETH isn't going to. It's also the most obvious, the most obvious level on the chart to buy, I think. Like, I mean, this monthly support, this previous cycle high, it just makes sense, right? If it goes to shit, it's gonna go to shit, and it's gonna go to shit badly. If we lose the support, the next support's all the way down at 400. But still, it just kind of, at these kind of levels, I feel like you have to do business. Now, obviously, you don't have to, and you don't have to copy trade me either. You just make your own decisions, but it's a pretty good level. And given the fact that we have like a really good level on the weekly on Bitcoin and a really good level on the monthly for ETH, that makes me a little bit hopeful for both of them. That said, like this monthly candle and the last close aren't really the best. And the weekly is meh at best as well. Because we've been trading below the all-time high on the weekly, like the previous all-time high. If we reclaim that, I think it's going to be like a giga chart candle to the upside. And we've kind of run into that resistance a couple times. So the more often we do it, the less likely it is to hold. But I don't think we've run into it enough times to kind of make a bet on that. So my bet's just on the monthly chart, as in like a really good investment kind of level, more so than, okay, it's a momentum trade or any of this thing or anything of the sort on the weekly time frame. So yeah, there you go. It's an interesting spot, really. I think if you get a massive dip, you want to be buying 800. Like that's the best thing that you could get. I think 800 is short term a really, really, really good level to buy. I'm just going to be holding. I have a bunch of ETH, a bunch of NFTs. They've actually been doing really, really well, which is really weird, but I'm down for it, right? I bought a bunch of NFTs as a joke. I think there's 2 doxed wallets of mine online, with like apes. I don't know if I have apes on the second wallet or not, but I have like an ape and a bunch of doodles and like whatever. I have a bunch of NFTs, and they've actually been outperforming the market by quite a bit. They're up like 20 to like 30-40% ish, which, I mean, the market is really illiquid right now, but still pretty nice, right? Wish I had like a bigger NFT portfolio, but I just can't bring myself to buy a lot of it because it seems so stupid. I'm not the biggest NFT fan, but I have a bunch of it now, and they've been doing better than most of my other positions actually. Don, how are you feeling about the euro? I mean, it's pretty nice that I bought a shitload of crypto at support before the euro just went completely nosedive. Like, I mean, it just went to complete shit basically, which reduced my euro exposure significantly before, like I said, before the nuke. But yeah, I don't really have too strong a view. I don't think it's gonna fail. I don't think there's really a need to panic, but it's not my expertise. And but yeah, I'm gonna shift once we get a bounce, right? Like let's say Bitcoin runs into 30K, I'm gonna de-risk and I'm actually gonna be shifting into euro instead of USD. So yeah, with regards to like, I see a bunch of people discussing the free, what was it, 140K Bitcoin release from Mt. Gox, right? You got to realize that a bunch of them are going to hold. It's not like, I don't think more than half is going to get sold ever. And then a bunch of it is already kind of like, people have done some stupid shit with it, right? And it's been this kind of FUD event since 2000. I mean, the first time that I can remember it was early 2017, but I know that it's been before. It's just something that I've seen. Like, people told me to not buy Bitcoin 2017 because of Mt. Gox coins, and that was below $1,000. So that is one of the things that I just tend to ignore, for better or worse, right? If it actually comes around, whatever. I've ignored it since 2017. It's done me well. If I didn't ignore it, I'd be a broke student still that has to kind of do normal work for a living, which, I mean, is also fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, the Mt. Gox stuff I usually tend to ignore. As stupid as it sounds, usually takes much longer and gets delayed and delayed and delayed. I don't know how serious it is this time around. I actually haven't looked into it. Need to look into it before I say something stupid or ask smarter friends than me. But yeah, that's ETH, right? ETH USDs, like on the monthly, it looks decent. On the weekly, it's at resistance or like near resistance, which makes it a little bit difficult. But if you look at ETH BTC, it's actually in a really interesting spot as well, because we're kind of trading inside of the range that we've had from 2018, right? So this 2018 range here. We fell below it and then rallied back into it, which would technically be a bearish retest, but it's not really been performing how it should have if this was a bearish retest, right? This looks more like it wants to eat through that resistance and come back up. So if that's the case, right, if we manage to close this week green or at least on top of support, which is 0.055 down here, I think there's actually good reason to believe that ETH is going to outperform Bitcoin, which would be bullish in general. I think we've had the same thing happen at the last low where ETH just outperformed Bitcoin the entire way up. I would like that to happen again, but we need a little bit more. Obviously starts being really bullish if it kind of reclaims this. I don't know why this is ruining my... Like if it reclaims the upper boundary of the box. So yeah, there you go. I think ETH's interesting. I like the intraday strength today as well. ETH's been kind of front running. Like whenever people feel like the bottom of a move is in, they move into ETH. And then ETH starts performing, like outperforming Bitcoin. And then it starts underperforming whenever people think that the top's in for Bitcoin, which is really interesting to see. So like if you like reasonably certain that Bitcoin is bottoming, you can just buy ETH. You're gonna make more. But if you obviously time it wrong, you're gonna get shit on. But yeah, doesn't look too bad to me, just based on the higher time frames. Like the weekly looks pretty okay still. If it starts losing that range, obviously not the best look in the world. So if we close all the way down here, that would be like a clear indication that we've lost the range low, and that would start looking more shitty. But until that happens, no reason to panic in ETH land. With regards to Soul's still like in the middle of the range, like legitimately smack dab in the middle, right? There's like, yeah, fucking OBS. Actually, like I get like weird bugs today, OBS disconnecting. But yeah, I should be back. Sorry about that. No idea why that happened. But yeah, for Soul, right? And do let me know if I'm back. Otherwise, I'm speaking into the void. That's not really interesting. But for Soul, we're in the middle of the range. Range low is in between 25 and 28, and range high is in between 44 and 48. Right. So yeah, nothing's really changed on the Soul front. I would like it to expand to the upside, but I mean, given the weakness that we've had in the S&P that has kind of moved into the Bitcoin market, it's not surprising that we've not really done anything in the last few weeks. So yeah, Soul not doing anything. Someone asked me about it. On the Bitcoin pair, still looks incredibly bullish, right? Had a massive 2 weeks and is now just kind of like chilling at the highs still. So Soul BTC still looks incredible to me. Soul USD is just in the middle of the range. So given that it's in the middle of the range, almost reached the high of the range, you could argue, okay, it's going to be neutral, but I'm willing to hold my position for better or for worse, just based on the fact that I think pretty good prices all around. I could see it break the resistance and rally into 80, 90 ish, where I would like to sell. I don't really need, like if I wanted to do like $2 trades, I'd do it on leverage, and I'd do it on the lower time frames. That'd be fine by me. But for me, when I kind of start establishing a position, I don't want to close it after like a day or two or three. I'd much more I'd much rather be in that position for a while and aim for the bigger moves. And I know that like a bunch of people on Twitter have been kind of very vocal about like taking profits after every single dollar move or whatever. I think it's stupid. That kind of trading style just gets you wrecked on fees. So might as well just stay out of the market until you think it's at high time frame support, and then buy it again and sell it at the next high time frame resistance. It's my way of trading. I find it much more convenient than having to worry about every single dollar or two that it moves. So pretty chill on the Solana front as well. Obviously would like it to be higher, but it's still up like, I don't know, I think like 15 or 20% since my entry. I'm not really panicking too much. But yeah, this is obviously gonna lose the range if Bitcoin breaks down. And the same is true for ETH. It's gonna lose the monthly support if Bitcoin breaks down. So this is all kind of reliant on this weekly support doing its job. If you don't think it's going to do its job, you probably don't want to be positioning in any altcoins. Is that clear? I think it is pretty straightforward. Any other questions? Or like anything that I need to kind of make more clear? How do you approach scaling into 7 to 8 fig altcoin buys? I mean, you just do it slowly, but yeah. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It depends on what you buy. Like if you're buying big amounts of fucking Voyager or whatever I talked about earlier, it's gonna be a little bit more of a problem. But if you're buying like the bigger ones, for example Solana, it's like way less of a problem. And I generally don't tend to go down the shit list too much. So with regards to ETH, like ETH and Solana is pretty easy to buy. Dogecoin isn't too bad depending on where you go. But yeah, like the bigger coins aren't too bad. Thoughts on NFTs now? I kind of want to take some NFT risk on. I mean, I have my NFT still and my first sells. So like my apes are pretty much around 200 ETH, and the floor is 100 now. So like I'm aiming for 2x still on that front. Like around that, I'm not saying 200 flat, even though I think I have one in for 200 flat. But like I want to sell around 200 for the apes, and then for the doodles, they're like around, I think like 13 something ETH right now, and I want to sell them at like 25. So pretty much a 2x as well that I'm aiming for. It doesn't have to happen. I'm not the biggest NFT kind of guy. And then I have like a bunch of like motherfuckers as well. I have like a bunch of shit, complete and utter garbage. But yeah, I'm aiming for like 2 or 3 X's in general on the NFT kind of side of things. Now, that is pretty unlikely to happen. It's more of like a fun side thing for me. But yeah, it's barely moved since I've gotten in. It's been like 10, 20, 30, 40%, depending on what kind of NFT you look at. But yeah. Are the energy prices and regulations being posted about Germany actually happening? Yes. I mean, not right now, but yeah, in general, yes. Pretty shitty situation in Europe all around. Now, I think it's not going to be as bad as people say, and the Americans are kind of freaking out on the Europeans' behalf, and no one's really freaking out, at least in my friend circles. But yeah, like so, like you see a bunch of Americans being like, okay, Europe just is burning and is done, and then you're in Europe and everyone's just kind of like enjoying life right now, like everyone's super happy, kind of just doing their thing. So yeah, it's an interesting kind of thing. Like everyone's enjoying summer here basically. And what comes after, I mean, I can keep you guys updated on how it goes, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as people say it will be. Don, I missed if you answered this, but if you go off for 1 month, do you not plan to sell 30K anymore? Not worried about missing exit? Nah, I'm not worried about it at all. If it pumps, it pumps. I think it's going to be around that level for a while, even if that's going to be the top. So I don't really mind, and I don't mind holding longer than 30k as well. So my plan, right, if this is playing out like I want it to, my plan is this runs out here, it runs towards 30k, it pulls back towards 25k, and it runs back into like 40k. That's kind of my plan ish. So if I miss like selling 30, yeah, I'm just gonna be like holding and then selling 40. And at that point, I think it could like just start running back down again, like start kind of like going low. Obviously, the time frame of these kind of drawings isn't really accurate, but it's kind of like roughly how it expected to play out. So yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not in any rush. This is like such a big high time frame level that I think the move that's gonna follow, if it goes up, is gonna be, it's not gonna be like just straight up faded. If it goes up, it's gonna take like 4, 5, 6 weeks at resistance to get rejected. And if it's not rejected, it's just gonna keep on going. So I mean, I don't really like, I'm in no rush at all. Pretty chilled about all of it. Enjoy the month. It's a great idea, honestly. Wish I could do the same, but down too bad. Yeah, I mean, it's just how it is. I'm not down too bad, honestly. Like the interesting bit is, and I think that's kind of like what I'm underestimating, is how like fucked people are. Because like I sold here, right? Like I sold here and I'm entering here. So like everyone that didn't sell here and went through like a 60-70% drawdown. I kind of get why they're targeting like 12 to 14k, because at that point you can just buy a bunch, and then if it goes up, you're kind of gonna be okay again. But if it goes from here to 12k, I'm gonna be down. Like my kind of levels of wreckness aren't gonna be as close to the ones that kind of like didn't sell 60k and held towards 20k, even if you sold 20 or 30k, right? So if it goes down, like this is gonna be, if it goes to next support, it's gonna be like down 40% for me, which is gonna be painful, but I wouldn't really mind too much. I've had similar before. I mean, I bought 4k big time, and it went all the way down towards like 3k, and I just bought a shitload more at 3k, and then it rallied. So I mean, I've sat through these kind of moves before, and I guess like people are just down so bad that they're like, okay, sold like 30k, didn't sell 60, went down 50%, sold 30k. Now I wanted to go to like 12 to 14k so I can kind of recoup some losses, I guess. I mean, whatever, fine by me. Yeah, I'm not too wrecked. Not yet, anyway. If it doesn't go down, it goes up. Cheers, mate. I mean, I'm saying I'm positioned. Like that's the weird part. Like I'm like saying I bought a shitload at this support. I have Bitcoin, I have ETH, I have Solana. So it's kind of like, of course, like it can always go up or down. Like I can't guarantee you that it's gonna go up. I can't guarantee you that it's gonna go down. But it's pretty clear what my opinion is where this is gonna go, right? Now, whether I'm gonna be right or wrong in that, I don't fucking know. I think it's good support to buy. But yeah, I don't really understand like how that could be up or down commentary when you know how I'm positioned, right? Because then it's pretty obvious. But I don't know. Maybe it's just, maybe I'm not really getting the joke. What would your sizing goal percentage be for this 20k level as like percentage of portfolio? I want to keep large stash for potential Armageddon nuke, but still not underestimate this level. For me, if this goes to 12 to 14k, I'm gonna be like buying 30% more ish. That's it. So like this is kind of like how I'm going about it. So I bought like 70% here. I might buy like 30% more here. That's it for me. I'm not gonna be buying more than that. So that's kind of my view. I think chances of this being the bottom over like 12 to 14k is pretty damn high. But yeah, even more so given that if we go to 12K, we could also go to 6K, right? I honestly think the only realistic levels to buy are like somewhere down here. But I mean, if you're already losing like the all-time high level, can you really be too certain that anything is gonna hold? Because this is like legitimately the best level. This is like, I mean, you're not gonna get any better level than this. So if this goes, you can't really trust anything anymore, which I guess would be a pretty nice bottom kind of thing where everyone just capitulates into 12, 10, 9, 8, 7K. The people that buy 14K get liquidated along with everyone else. But I just like that kind of carnage, I think, would lead to crypto just being done for the next 5 years or so, or 10 years. And I don't think that's necessarily too likely, but could be the case. I don't want to get anyone too excited. You kind of have to manage your risk and see just what you think is possible and whatnot. Do you have a hard stop loss order for your Solana position? Sam, are you trying to liquidate me or like get me out of my trade? No, I don't. It's spot positions. I don't do stop losses on spot positions. Like I can execute the stops better than my stop loss can. Like, yeah, it's just like oftentimes when you have a position, it depends on the size, obviously. But if you have like a position and the market invalidates it, it's very, very likely at the moment it invalidates your position, the liquidity is just going to be gone. So you're going to be selling it in an empty book. So you're going to take like a 5 to 10% bigger loss than you should have. I mean, nowadays it's a little bit less so. Back in the day, you could legitimately slip that much. But yeah, I don't need to do it on spot positions. Like I said, I'm not gonna be broke if it goes to 12K, and I'm gonna be okay if it goes to 0. I'm not degening my risk. I'm gonna be hurting, but I'm gonna be okay if it goes to 0. And that is something that you kind of have to have in mind. Like this is pretty risky stuff, right? Crypto is like imaginary internet money. If you don't realize that that's risky, I mean, I don't know what you're doing. Like this shit could go to 0 tomorrow. I just think in general, it's pretty unlikely to do so. And the upside is pretty damn big. So it makes sense to be in the market. But yeah. But yeah, I think that's enough. I'm super hungry and my food is waiting for me. So just gonna do that. Appreciate you guys coming by. Sorry for like the issues today. And I mean, I've been all over the place as well because I'm tired. But yeah, appreciate you guys coming by. It's gonna be better on Friday, I promise. And yeah, love you guys. Really appreciate the sponsor, which is FTX. Their links are in the description. Go check them out. And yeah, we'll see each other on Friday. Hopefully. I think so. I think there's something planned for Friday. But yeah. So yeah, see you then. And have a nice rest of your day. Bye-bye.